Hi, everyone. Those of you out there and those of you in the audience, thank you for coming today. This is the Affordable Housing Commission, and my name is Solveig Spjelnes. I am the current chair. So what we're going to do today is a number of things. But first of all, what I like to do is to explain why we're here and what we do. So our mission is the Athens City Affordable Housing Commission is a commission of city government established to review best practices, investigate community affordable housing models, and identify needs and opportunities within Athens city limits to advance decent, safe, sustainable, affordable housing for all city residents. The commission is tasked with providing advice and guidance on measures and policies that influence access to and needs within the local housing market. And I just want to emphasize that this is not just low-income housing that we focus on. We want to make sure that everybody in Athens, whatever their income level or what their needs are, that they have access to housing that they can afford at their income level. So that's to begin with, so you understand, because we've had some people think that this is just about low-income housing, and it's not, though of course that's part of our purview. So we do have quorum, we do have some people missing, but it's that time of year, so I'm not terribly surprised. People have other things to do. I want to mention that the minutes last time, because both of our secretary people were gone, so what we did was, which is legal apparently, we did a transcription. Scott, thank you very much for giving us a transcription of the recording, and then between Molly and I, we edited them. So I sent the last version. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them, but you know how careful Molly is, so really. So if there's any, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second.
Okay, and a vote?
Aye. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we have any nays, so we'll move on. All right, here we go. The next thing is we have a speaker today that we're very grateful is here for us. This is Rose Freck, and Director of External Affairs, Federal Housing Policy and Funding. Important stuff. And we've been hearing that the Trump administration has made some pretty serious changes, or they waffled back and forth and they're not sure. Anyway, so tell us what's really happening and how that might affect us.
Sure. You want me to stand up here? Is this
Yep.
Yes, please.
Okay, great. This is so exciting. Yeah, thanks for having me. I can kind of run you down, like get you updated on where things are with the HUD changes, and also kind of what the impact will potentially be here in Athens County and the surrounding counties. So if you're not, so first, yes, I'm Rose. I work at Integrated Services. We're a community mental health, substance use disorder treatment, and housing organization, and we serve 24 counties across Southeast and Central Ohio, including Athens County, most importantly. And we are a HUD grantee. So if you're not familiar with HUD programming, the HUD Continuum of Care program is really the primary federal funding source for homeless assistance programs across the country. And the majority of Continuum of Care dollars goes towards permanent housing options, and more specifically, permanent supportive housing options. And so what that typically looks like is long-term housing options for people who are chronically homeless and have a disability, and it's the combination of rental assistance paired with supportive services. So it could be substance use disorder treatment, mental health treatment, could be housing navigation, and the combination of those things is what makes up permanent supportive housing. The other thing that's important to know about the way that HUD has operated for the last several decades is under a housing first philosophy, which basically says that the most important way to help people who are chronically homeless is to house them first, and then when they're ready, provide those supportive services as optional so that they can get stable, so they can address any trauma that they may have, and then they're much more likely to be able to engage in long-term supportive services or make a path towards self-sustainability. So the COC funds that come to our part of the state are managed through COHIO, or the Corporation for Homeless and Housing in Ohio. They manage the grant application to the feds and help to make priorities around how the money gets spent. Integrated Services, we receive about $3 million, a little over $3 million in HUD COC funds. And that supports work across the region. But here in Athens, those COC dollars support our project on Charles Place and Graham Drive, which is family housing. We also have several units that we support in the Plains that are managed through the Adams Board. And then we have roughly funding for about 150 portable vouchers that are permanent supportive housing vouchers that operate much like Section 8, where people who are eligible are able to then take that funding to find an apartment in the place where they want to live, and that money kind of follows the person. So we had been operating. We're coming right up on the end of the first year of a 2-year grant cycle within the COC, and that would start, second year would start in January. And very abruptly last month, HUD released a notice of funding that basically disrupted that 2-year grant cycle and said, hey, for the second year, we want to shift our priorities as an administration. And shift away from permanent housing options towards more transitional housing. And specifically what they said is for the second year, we want a 30% cap on permanent supportive housing, and that everything else should go to transitional housing or street outreach projects. So in Ohio, roughly 90% of COC dollars go to permanent housing options now. So this represents a really significant cut. Not to mention it's a very abrupt change, right? Because we're talking about people who are already in the middle of a lease. We're talking about projects that have a lot of capital that have already been, put into these projects, these physical infrastructures that rely on these HUD dollars. So that came out and also asked for a very quick turnaround. So they were asking for applications to come in about 6 weeks period to turn around an application and say, how are you going to change the way that you run your homeless assistance programs across the country? So providers like us and Cohio have been really frantically trying to figure out what this is going to look like. Our initial plan was that we are going to preserve and protect our project-based units, because again, that's capital that we have other obligations towards, and that we were then going to need to give up we anticipate we would have to give up the majority of those portable vouchers that we use across the region. And while everybody was kind of frantically trying to bring this new application together, there was a lawsuit filed. There's actually multiple lawsuits filed that said that this change would result in displacement of folks and other hardship. While this was making its way through the court, HUD abruptly pulled the NOFO, the notice of funding, which on the surface seems like a positive development for those of us who are concerned. But it's not really that simple, because they basically have said, we're going to pull the notice, we're going to put out a new notice, and it's probably going to keep much of the same kind of stuff in it. But we don't, right now, we're basically waiting to see when that new notice will come out, if it will still contain the 30% cap on permanent supportive housing. And at this point, we're also kind of living in this limbo of people don't know what's going to happen for the second year of their grants, which for some providers start as soon as January. So all that to say, it's a very uncertain time in the world of these homeless assistance programs and permanent supportive housing. We, as a provider, are still going to operate under the assumption that we are going to lose much of our permanent supportive housing funding. However, we're really committed to trying to make sure that we keep those federal dollars in the region. So we are going to try and transition some of that to transitional housing. The difference between permanent supportive housing and transitional housing, transitional housing has a 2-year time limit. And the other thing that we are seeing in the guidance that's coming from HUD is that transitional housing also is going to require a serious worker community engagement requirement. So what they're looking at is 40 hours a week of participation in work, volunteer service, community engagement, job training, in order to maintain housing. So it's just a very different model than permanent supportive housing, which allows us to house some of the most vulnerable people in our community, often people who struggle with really serious mental illness, who obviously would really struggle to meet some of those requirements, towards something that is much more short-term, much more focused on moving people into work, and just a real abrupt shift away from that housing first model. So I think that's it. Do people have questions?
So, can you give some examples of particular projects in our community that will pretty definitely be affected? Like SAOP, for example.
So SAOP, I won't speak for them specifically. I do know that they have some HUD dollars. It's from a separate source than these specific funds that we're looking at. So I don't know for sure what the implications for them will be. So I couldn't tell you specifically for any of the providers other than us. Like I said, I know for us at Integrated, we will, here in Athens, we will do everything we can to protect like our family housing on Charles and our family housing on Graham. And it's really kind of like the less visible projects that will end up losing, which are, housing that people are able to take to local landlords, those kind of rental vouchers.
Okay. Interesting. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Yes. Could you just please give us an idea of what is the typical amount of the portable housing voucher?
So everything through HUD is based on fair market rent.
Okay.
And so it varies from, and Zach, I don't know if you know what Athens it is right now.
Like 1 bedroom or 0 bedrooms is $829. I believe.
Yeah.
That's going up. Well, actually, it's staying the same for next year. But from 27, we'll have to increase that. 829's, I think, 1 bedroom. I don't know if I have any of the other. I did have it here. I can bring that at the next meeting if you guys would like.
Yeah, so everything is based on fair market rent. That's how they make the calculations on the money that comes in through our grants. There's a calculation that depends on the specific geographic area.
And another question that I have, this has always bothered me, is that the requirements put on by sometimes state and federal government is that an individual has to work 40 hours or 20 hours or whatever the case may be, not taking into consideration that those opportunities do not exist 100% in a rural community.
Yeah.
And I know there are groups that lobby effectively on this, but those rules rarely change. So how do you see that working if, in fact, that rule becomes a standard that, in most cases, is not likely going to be able to be met?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with you. And we're navigating the same thing in the Medicaid world right now, because in the beginning of 2027, there will be a work requirement for a certain group of Medicaid enrollees. And so we've been doing a lot of that advocacy to help people understand that in most of rural Southeast Ohio, there's not necessarily readily available consistent work. I think it's going to be tough. I mean, I think on the housing piece, the way we've been thinking about it is we're really going to be talking about a much smaller group of people who are going to be able to engage in that work requirement. The other thing is that it puts a lot of burden on a provider to try to piece together 40 hours of volunteer. I mean, that's just it's really not realistic. So. But we'll do everything we can. I mean, I think we're already trying to talk about partnerships with, our local JFS agencies, partnerships with other workforce development providers. How can we really kind of like build customized plans that say, hey, maybe you're spending some time here and then you're spending some time there. But I do think it's going to be really tough for folks.
Well, and of course, our big barrier is transportation. I mean, we are dealing with a myriad of concerns that I think are not really realized in a rational manner by those who are making the rules.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Yep.
I
I'm with ya.
appreciate what you're doing.
I'm with you, and I
so.
think on the, even on the Medicaid side, there is just so much nuance that gets lost. So we know there will be exemptions on the Medicaid side. There will be some exemptions, most likely on the housing side, for example, for people who have disabilities. On the Medicaid side, there's exemptions going to, for people who are indifferent, medically frail, for people who are caregivers. But people still get lost, right? Because
Right.
you have to be able to verify that. You have to be able to verify that on a regular basis. And oftentimes it just means people just don't get the benefit or the service because it becomes too hard to navigate. So our hope is, as a provider, like I said, we're going to, even though this is not our preferred way to support people, we're going to do everything we can to just keep the federal money coming in with the hope that potentially the priorities change in the coming years, and we can at least demonstrate that we've got the money still coming in, and hopefully we're able to shift course again. And I should say too, there is still a lot of advocacy happening at this point in time, and we've been having conversations with stakeholders, with congressional aides, with members of Congress, to encourage them to reach out to HUD to say, hey, this isn't going to work, especially isn't going to work in rural parts of our country. And so we'll see what happens with that, and potentially there's some some of that can be effective.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you've got a tough job, and we wish we could help you out.
Oh, well, thank you.
We'll
Thanks
just vote
for
and call our
listening. We'll keep you all posted. And I would say too, if folks are, still are concerned about this, there still is value in reaching out to members of Congress to let them know how this will impact the communities.
Thank you so much, Rose.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Really appreciate it.
Fight.
Okay, moving right along. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to give a brief report, and again, this is a draft because there really wasn't time to do a report, an end-of-the-year report to City Council in December because, as you may have noticed, there was a lot of stuff going on, so adding more to our 2-3-hour meetings was probably okay. And some other commissions also decided to do theirs in January as well. So I decided, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put something together. I'm going to show you what I've got. I went through the minutes and, whatever. So I think I'm pretty comprehensive, but this gives you a chance to look at it and go, oh, you forgot to mention this, or you need to add that, or whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to skip really quickly through the first several slides because you've seen it last year, and I don't really need to give you all of the history of and whatnot. So I'm going to skip over those quickly, just show you what I've got, and then move into what we've been doing in 2025. Any questions? Okay, here you go. Okay, so since I may or may not be giving this, somebody has to, so I put a slide there, put my letters behind it for those kinds of things. So I want to, again, present the mission history and 2025 accomplishments, the committee goals, report on progress, and maybe some future directions. So again, I'm going to skip over the mission. You already heard that before. Skip over the purpose. You know what that is. A bit of the history. I'm going to go through that real quickly when I do it for the council. And then member composition consists of 11 voting members. You know the story of this, so I'm not going to go into it. Then what I did was I put members and their work or, situation, and then I made some assumptions about who's going to be president, et cetera, in 2026. And we will need to have a new city council liaison since I won't be on council anymore. So that can be discussed. I'm kind of hoping somebody soon figures that out. Okay. Then administrative progress. We expanded the work of the committees. We added the rental inspection processes subcommittee via resolution. I'll go into that more in detail. Clean up and add to the website, expand collaboration with departments, organizations, the university, and agencies. So I thought it was important to mention the speakers that we had. I think that that's part of our job is to inform us and the community about issues like with Rose. I did add Rose, and what they talked about. So this is the list I have. I think I got them all. And then next, I just listed the committees. I did not have a special slide for the executive committee because we really, that's kind of as needed sort of thing, not really much happened. And for the communications committee, I thought it was important to mention that there was a lot more on the website, a lot more information, correcting some inaccuracies, and making it a little bit more accessible and easier to navigate. So if the communications committee wants to mention something about that to get us moving along, feel free to text me, email me, or if it's a big thing, you can tell me now and I can do something. Okay, then the new development committee, this is where I have the least information because I'm not as sure as those who are active with that about what's going on and what happened. So that's where I really need for you to input where you think there's some stuff happened or whatever. We did talk about the accessory dwelling units and the possibility of adding that in the future. We also had a fairly lengthy conversation about short-term rentals. And after some review and discussion, I think the consensus was that we're going to leave it as is for now and see how it shakes out in the future, because we're concerned about making sure that there's not too many of them and they're not proliferating in areas that are taking away from badly needed permanent housing. So I think we need to keep our eye on that. We did talk about the Welcome Home, Ohio, Conestoga Huts, and then this new thing, community overlay zone, and then Megan worked on some other rezoning, so I'm not sure what she wants to put as far as that goes. So that's where I need most of your help. Okay, the Neighborhood Revitalization Committee is the fourth of the committees. Number of things I think we did some work on. Neighborhood efforts. We collaborated with the West Side Community Association to expand Porch Fest to the west side in 2026 and set up food donation bins for neighbors at risk. Primarily that was Amy and me a little bit.
And
others, yes,
members.
but I mean it's us, yeah.
Yeah.
And then encouraging the city to add community associations and churches on the website and other neighborhood activities, so that gets a bigger show for people who are interested in what's happening in their neighborhood. I'm also proposing that, we start a sort of neighborhood mutual assistance and or bartering services program, which has worked apparently well once upon a time and works really well in other communities. So I think that's a good one. We participated with the Summer Beautification Days back in April and collaborated with the West Side Community Association and the university to conduct cleanup days on the west side and along the bike path. So several people, including myself, went and picked up leftover stuff from people who had left their remains of whatever outdoor shelter or whatever that they had. There was quite a bit of junk. And of course, we didn't touch anybody's stuff that was actively living there. In fact, I didn't find any. But the stuff that was left over and clearly remains a mess, we did clean that up. And then the vacant property ordinance, Deputy Safety Director Andrew Chicky asked us to review his draft of the proposed vacant property ordinance. And most of you had some comments and suggestions, and that actually, based on those comments and suggestions and changes, it was proposed to City Council and an ordinance was passed, which now, so if you know of a vacant property, whether it's residential or a business, then let Andrew Chicky or the code office know, and/or the code office know, and they will charge them a permitting fee for that, and then that fee will go up each year, trying to encourage full occupancy, because we have some places that have been vacant for many years and they're deteriorating. It looks bad. And many other communities have done this same thing to try to increase housing options. Okay. Then there was the Rental Inspection Process Subcommittee, now called RIPS. That was the IT department came up with that. Anyway, so in October, we got a resolution passed to authorize the formation of RIPS as a one-year ad hoc group. There's 7 members with 3 appointed. The purpose, according to the resolution, says review rental code inspection and complaint processes to enhance efficient and effective code compliance and rental unit safety to address goals in the city's comprehensive plan. We've had 2 full meetings so far, but a lot of other stuff is happening behind the scenes. So one thing is that we are doing a research, well, it's all research, I suppose. It's essentially a program evaluation. But our goals in more fine-tuning this is get all rental housing in Athens to be structurally and functionally safe, and that the Athens Code Office inspection process is fully fulfilling its mandate so that every rental is inspected and problems fixed. Therefore, all rental property owners can qualify to purchase an annual rental permit. By law, they're supposed to be inspected every year, and that permits are not allowed to be issued unless they've passed and have code compliance. That is not happening. We've discovered that's clearly not happening. So this research team, we have 4 PhDs on this project, and also one of them is a professor now who is for Ohio University, who's going to include her students as part of working on the project. We also have a student member who's working on her thesis in comparable areas, and we have some volunteer statisticians and IT experts. Rob who's in our audience here, Rob DeLetch is helping us out on some things, like the GIS map that I want to talk to you about afterwards, by the way. So, and we're preparing a program evaluation packet for the Institutional Review Board at Ohio University to conduct a professional study. We're having surveys for landlords and for renters. We're doing focus groups and interviews. We're going to search for best practices and compare with other cities, amongst other parts of this project. We also are collecting and analyzing existing code office data about the inspection process, inspector work requirements, legal issues, and a lot more. There's a lot of data out there, and more to come. So this is very comprehensive. Okay, in addition to that, we've had meetings with Ohio University. We met with the University Off-Campus Housing Director and Megan Vogel and others to propose an expanded off-campus portal, university portal, housing portal, and services, along with establishing a landlord network, which OSU has done successfully for a very long time. They have an excellent system, and we're probably not going to use all of what they do. They have some differences, but they do have some great stuff. And so one of our members is the representative for landlords and property managers, who is really gung-ho on making this happen and is willing to help facilitate this landlord network program. There would be benefits for the landlords, and because what OSU does is that they get together with the landlords and the university and the code office to talk about issues that are important to all of them. And so they get some benefits if the landlords participate for a small fee, and then they get on the portal. So the students who are looking for off-campus housing would go there first. And they know that those are landlords who have agreed to provide good housing. Anyway, code-compliant housing. Anyway, there's legal issues and whatnot that need to be worked out, but OSU's been doing it for years. I think we can figure it out. Anyway, and it would be a benefit for everybody, and I think make parents a little bit more comfortable and set some rules. So there's a whole lot that's going into that conversation. Anyway, then I also talked with the Public Health Department, the HAPCAP actually, who does the Athens Municipal Housing Authority housing and inspections, and also the fire department that handles some residential housing inspections. So I wanted to see what they do. Maybe we can learn something from them. Maybe we can share ideas, whatever. And also, we're collecting some great efficiency ideas from landlords who, based on their many years of experience working with the code office, has some seemingly very valid suggestions for how that could go. Maybe some little tweaks that would save time. Anyway, so then we have a timeline. We want to get the IRB submission in early 2026. We want to distribute the surveys between February and May, and clean the data over the summer, analyze the data in August and September, and prepare the report in October and November. And then we are by the resolution, supposed to present the report in December. So that's highlights of what's happening. There's a lot more behind the scenes going on, so, but there's a lot of activity there. Okay, moving on. Project Co-Create. If you watched the City Council meeting yesterday, we just learned yesterday from HAPCAP that their building plans are delayed. We were hoping that it would be done because they put out construction bids a couple months ago, and now they've sent out 2 sets of construction bids that were both requests for bids that both found that the bids that came back were way over what they had to pay. So they don't have any starting date, they don't have a construction group yet, so there's no chance it's going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately, which is very bad. So, because we really wanted to have that sunset shelter opened sooner rather than later. So HAPCAP is working on program options for future residents with agencies, organizations, and churches. So they have a lot of ideas and plans for what can happen once it's open, but you need the construction to start. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to do that, see if they can get additional housing funding in some way. And I don't know how much the HUD thing is going to change that. That'll be a good question. But we shall see. That in addition, though, just in case you didn't watch last night for a City Council did pass an ordinance that would allow for Conestoga huts or similar temporary structures in R3 and B3 zones if it will pass the BZA and Andy Stone's standards, which is going to be strict. Right, Rob?
Yes.
Thank you. I knew you would say that. So anyway, we continue to have concerns and issues about people who are unhoused, and with the changes in HUD, it might get more complicated. If what they're saying they're going to do happens, we may have a lot more people on the street rather than less, which is clearly not good. Okay, so future ideas, let's kind of talk about that. Give me your suggestions on what you think might be a good idea to happen, and we'll go on from there. So, but basically, we're gradually expanding what we're doing and some directions that we're going in. Some things are harder than others to do, but I think we're gaining an audience and some folks they're seeing the value of what the Affordable Housing Commission can do. We also, each meeting, talk about new housing that's coming up, and so, the status of some of those to kind of keep people informed of what's happening, because we are getting more. Anyway, that's it. Thank you. So, any questions, comments, general impressions, whatever?
I also think it's important to note that the reason for those bids coming in way over seems to be a mix of things. The rising costs,
Yep.
the impacts of tariffs,
Yep.
the prevailing wage requirement, all things that are costly, and contractors can't do the project for what
Yeah.
we want it to be done for. So that needs to be revisited, and I think HAPCAP's doing everything they can to figure out a solution.
Yeah, one thing I'm curious about is whether they can partner with Habitat and see if maybe there's some possibilities that they could somehow be part of this to reduce costs.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, we need that done. Anyway, okay, so city updates, that's it. Oh, I'm sorry, anybody else? Okay, well, please send me comments, concerns, whatever, and I'll be happy to listen. Anybody in the audience too, so. And I sent it out the PowerPoint out to everybody on council as well as on the RIPS committee, so they can, make their comments as well. Okay, city updates. Megan's not here. Do you have any city updates for us?
Sure, I can
Oh, great, perfect.
if you'd like. My name is Gracie Vaughn. I'm a junior in urban planning. I'm also Megan's intern, so I'm here to do all of her this type of work while she's preparing for the public house tonight, which was for the neighborhood layover zone. We're really excited about this. This has been a project that's been in the works for probably about 2 years now, especially when coming onto this specific area. So essentially the entire purpose of the neighborhood overlay zone is to just continue that continuity of the aesthetic of Athens. We want our values and kind of our uniqueness to be installed in every single part of the city, not just in Uptown, which is what the neighborhood overlay zone would do. And so essentially we're focusing on walkability as a main aspect of that. For an example of that, an option of what developers would be able to like pick from would be to, if they are going to develop a new area, they can, if they have their business within, I think it's 500 feet of a bus stop, they can have a 20% reduction of the required parking requirements, so that it kind of increases that need or that incentive to use the bus systems, or they can opt to, if they're too far away from that, just based off of land use, they can create a bus stop or more accessible routes to our pre-existing bus stop. But yeah, our meeting tonight is at 6 at the Armory. So I encourage everybody to join and just kind of see what we're all up to. Other than that, we're currently working on the framework for the comprehensive plan, the update to the comprehensive plan. As you guys know, the comprehensive plan is like a set of goals that the city strives for. Usually is made for a goal set of like 20 to 30 years out, but then reevaluated every 5 to 7 years. We're hitting that 5-year mark right now, as our last one was updated, I should say, in 2020. So we're starting on that framework. Hopefully we'll be done with it within that 7-year time frame, hopefully. And it is just Megan and I working on it currently. Our last one was a team of 7, so we'll see how much work I can do. And but yeah, we're definitely looking at neighborhood specific areas, how we can develop those and create those to be better spaces for the people who live here, and then also of course affordable housing. So we will be working with you guys closer to when we get to the actual formulating of that plan. But right now we are still in the framework stages, and we hope to have an entire framework complete with ideas of where we want to go by the end of this year. So yeah. I can take any questions if you have any. Yeah.
I don't know if you're able to answer this or not, but
I
the
can try.
meeting tonight is at the Armory.
Yes, it is.
There is limited parking there,
Yes.
just so people realize that. But can they park in the Masonic parking lot in order to come over to see what the overlay is?
Yeah, I would have to double check with Megan. I know that that is a big concern, especially since it is kind of right at that top of Court Street. So I can double check with her and then get back with you guys.
I wouldn't.
It's not likely the city's made arrangements for that. I would say there's plenty of on-street parking on Court Street and North Court, and it won't be full because the students are going.
Yeah.
So,
It's just some of the sidewalks aren't particularly cleared.
Yes, yeah.
yeah, the Cornwell properties haven't
So-
cleared their sidewalk in front of it, right?
Yeah, all of us students have left for the year except for me.
Thank you.
I'm still here, but
So this would be a good time to remind everyone that property owners, whether they have a business or a home, are responsible for their own snow removal.
absolutely.
And if you have people fall and sue you, we're not going to help you out. Sorry.
Yep.
Anyway, so just so everybody knows, just a little cautionary tale there.
Absolutely. But if you guys don't need anything from me, I'm here.
Thank you very
If
much.
you need any busy work done, I'm here.
Thank you. That was very well done. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Okay, so I think I gave you my city council update on housing-related stuff with the huts and whatnot. Shay, do you want to talk about anything having to do with, no?
BZA has been quiet. I don't have any specific updates.
Okay, well, we'll move right along.
Just one thing to
Oh,
say.
sorry, okay.
So I'm Rob Delich, live at 124 Morris Avenue. I'm chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals. So you mentioned already one thing that's important is the temporary shelter ordinance that passed would allow temporary shelters with a conditional use, conditionally, in B3 and R3 zones. So the Board of Zoning Appeals would be reviewing any of those and approving or denying them. And so that's a bit of a change. You mentioned short-term rentals. We've been seeing a bunch of those cases come forward, and most of them have not been approved because they've not been in the right places or the right situations, and more about taking housing stock off the market, which is not really where we need to be going right now. So it would be a similar kind of process for the temporary shelters, approving those locations if people are proposing projects that would need to come forward. And so a new thing for us to be dealing with, and I don't expect to see a lot of those kind of cases, maybe one or two here and there. Gathering Place is working on a concept for another one that would come before the board probably in the next year or so.
Yeah, thank you, actually, I didn't mention that. The Gathering Place got a grant for putting up 10 huts or whatever, and actually buying land to do that. So they're looking at doing that on the outskirts of the city, since people keep, as long as it's on the bus line, because otherwise it's kind of pointless. So they're looking to do that. That's, not a rush, and they haven't decided on anything yet. It just, hot off the press. So we'll see, and that may be very well needed, given that the sunset shelter is not going to be done as quickly as we hoped it would. I'm confident that it will happen, just not as quickly as we hoped. So maybe you need to give some donations, just saying, to help them out. Just a thought. Okay. I did have an update on the ridges, actually. It looks like it will be early 2026. There's one, of course, we've heard that now for over a year, but they're sure that this time, just everything is done. I haven't heard anything new about the LIHTC projects. I know they seem to be moving forward. Do you know anything about those? No, okay, I didn't think so. Nothing new on SAOP, really. Woods Edge is really coming along. And any other, I don't know of any other developments we need to talk about. Anybody else? What do you think? Okay. All right, let's go to the nominating committee for the slate of candidates. Who's going to speak about that?
I am.
Amy.
Let me pull up my notes. Are we going to do this in two separate votes, the candidates and then the member replacement?
I think that's
Or all in one?
appropriate.
Okay. So we do have a slate of candidates that we would like to propose. We would like to propose that we vote to have Shay Myers be our chair, Molly Fitzgerald as our co-chair, and Maria Modial as our secretary.
Co-chair or vice chair?
Vice chair, sorry.
Yeah, that's
Did I
fine.
say co-chair?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I'm sorry, vice
Just
chair.
want to be clear. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, good. Oh, and I want to say for everybody who understands, so we can do that we can decide on who's our chair and whatnot.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go to city council for that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so do you want to move that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would like to move that we take a vote on those.
Okay.
Accepting the slate of candidates.
Yes.
Accepting the slate of candidates. Thank you
And,
for the words.
Anyone want to second that?
Second.
Okay. So let's take a vote.
Aye.
Go.
Aye.
All right. Don't all talk at once.
I know. I know.
Okay, so the next is voting on a replacement member. This one does have to be approved by city council, so you can make a recommendation, and that we can make a recommendation, and from there, if that person is approved by this body, then it goes to city council, and they can vote on it in January.
Yep.
So, and because I have put my name up for the replacement member, since I won't be the liaison anymore, I obviously am not going to vote.
Okay. Well, so we did receive 5 letters of interest to the nominating committee for the vacant seat. We did consider all 5 applicants, and given Solvay's knowledge and demonstrated commitment to leading the Affordable Housing Commission, we are going to recommend that we approve her as our recommendation for City Council approval. So that is our recommendation for this group to consider. Do you have anything to add?
No, but I would move that recommendation.
Great.
Second.
Yeah, the only thing is, we only have 5 votes for that.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, because I can't vote.
Okay.
So I think we're going to have to
Okay.
delay that until January.
Okay. So that's on the table,
Okay.
so everybody can know. And then, which really in our bylaws, we can replace that vacancy anytime.
Yes.
We really needed to vote on our
Yes,
officers today, so
Right.
that's okay.
that's okay.
So,
So, all right.
thank you for reminding us about
Yes,
this.
I think that's, darn it, anyway. Okay, so let's move on to the new development committee. Anything new you want to discuss? Well, you did, basically.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We didn't meet this ahead of this meeting, and Megan's really busy, the comprehensive plan stuff and everything. But at the last meeting, we did discuss maybe in early 2026 trying to convene some of the property owners up there at was it Oakmont for potentially another phase of development up there. So possibly in early 2026 we will convene that meeting. Mary, Shay, I mean, there's not really much
Yeah.
else to.
No, I don't think there's anything else.
All right, well, I think I already talked about the neighborhood revitalization stuff. Is there anything I missed or anything you want to talk about? What I'm really hoping that we can do this next year is that we can do more of, that the city does more community outreach. You know, working with the neighborhood associations. I have reached out to Lacey Rogers, whose job I think it is to do community work. Her job description is a little unclear at this point, but and see if maybe we can work collaboratively with her or whoever is designated to do more neighborhood communication, because I think it's badly needed. So anyway, that's the only thing I have about that. Anything about communications?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, actually, we're doing really well. Anything else? Well, okay, so Shay, why don't we get together between now and January and talk about, some of the things that need to get done and, whatever. And then you don't really need to talk to Maria too much about what needs to be done about how to keep the reports and stuff up. Anything else for the good of the order besides happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, and Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year, and all that kind of stuff? It's been a good year. So, Rob, did you want to say something?
Under the good of the order, maybe.
Okay, good.
Is that where we are?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the last bullet before that up there in Habitat for Humanity Neighborhood Revitalization Grant made me think of something I should mention here is I just confirmed with Kenny Ohlers, who's the director of Habitat for Humanity, that he's going to speak at the next Strong Towns Athens meeting, which is the first Sunday of the month, so it's January 4th. Some people might still be on vacation over the winter break maybe, but and there won't be as many students, but we're going to have him speak, and that is 5 o'clock, January 4th, at Big Run Kava Bar, which is not really a bar if you don't know. So it's it's a tea, coffee, and kava drink. They also have kombucha. Kombucha. So non-alcoholic drinks. But it's a great spot, and we're able to use the entire facility if we need to, if we have good turnout. But we've been there for 3 meetings now. It's been working out really well. But Kenny's going to come talk to us about the neighborhood revitalization grant, that concept, because he's looking for partners. And Strong Towns folks in particular might need to be advocating for changes to code to allow a project like that to move forward. I can see those kind of things being necessary, and also neighborhood revitalization will probably include things like beautification projects that we can also be involved in too. So if you want to hear what he has to say, some more details about his ideas for what they want to try and do in Athens, which they haven't done as much in Athens, right? So this is a good opportunity to engage and work inside the city too.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because Ken's going to be at our West Side Community Association tomorrow night at 6:30 because he said that for this revitalization grant, he was going to focus on the West Side. Now, this is a collaboration with the neighbors and the community. It's not a, gee, we're going to come in and do what we think is best kind of thing. It's a, hey, what kinds of things would be helpful to you? They also are doing, or can do, DIY fixing up your house training. They have a mobile unit, and they could bring it to like Arts West and things like that for simple, how to fix up stuff. And they also are going to have workshops for people that would cost some money for something more complicated. But so this is a, how can we work with our community members? Because I've talked to many people on the West Side who go, I can't afford to hire a contractor to do blah. How do I get this done? Well, here's an opportunity, to get some of these things done. I don't know the details yet, but you're welcome to come 6:30 at the Central Avenue Church.
What day? Sorry, 6:30.
Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, 6:30, West Side Community Association meeting. So we're hoping to get a good turnout of people who care and want to talk about this seriously. Okay, I think that's all I have. Anybody else want to throw anything in there? Okay, I think we're good. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and some ayes, yes?
Yep.
Yep, okay, I think we're good. Anyway, have a wonderful holiday, enjoy yourself, and thanks to all the guys back there for all the work they do for us. Thank you so much. Close this up.